Okay, we're live. And I can't remember what number show we're up to. But anyway, it's going to be a great data debate. I think it's 35. I might have to check. And today we've got Goldine on the show, putting the val in value. So, hey, Val, how are you doing?
Hey, Chris. Hey, folks. Hope everyone's doing all right. Yeah, putting val in value. I think it was it Fred who came up with it.
Probably, yeah. Yeah. So background. So I think I met Val at Big Data London a couple of years ago, and he's one of the regular attendees of the data meetup. So I don't think he's skipped a single one. He's got a full track record. I think making every single one we've done. And we've met in New York as well, and it's always a fun chat, and we're never shy of things to talk about. But for everyone else, want to give yourself a bit of background, a bit of an introduction, Val?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Val Goldine. I'm co-founder and CEO of IOblend. My business partner and I, we've built this company around a data integration, essentially technology. So making it, as our show is today, about putting value into data. So basically simplifying the way we do data integrations, making it generating higher ROI for our clients.
Yeah. So we've just stumbled on two of the phrases that seem to annoy the data world a little bit, which we were just talking about. And I think so today we're going to be replacing the word business value with the ability to, we're going to say your business objectives. Okay,
that's it.
When we say business value, we're saying business objectives.
And that'll keep us safe from Joe.
Yeah. We don't want any. Yeah, we want to keep him calm. We want to keep everyone calm and get focused on what we're all here for, and that's it. Is to exercise your company's business strategy. But we're here to help with the data bit of it. So the whole company needs to come together with the bits they own. So, yeah. So we're going to give that as a disclaimer at the beginning of the show. So as to not get bogged down into the value topic too much. Although we'll probably have to touch on the definition that me and Matt have been working on for a little while as well. So, okay, without further ado, I suppose we can talk about some of the topics we put on the overview. So the first one was, all data-led activities must drive tangible and measurable business value, either increasing revenue or reducing cost. So back to that original statement I made a minute ago is, we're here to execute the business strategy. Most business strategies are going to have the two items that you put on there, or as part of it to help deliver it, is we need to increase revenue or reduce costs. So I like the word tangible, drive tangible and measurable. So the two words that I think are quite key to help with our focus. So Val, what's your opinion on this? So I've got loads.
No, fair point, Chris. I'm kind of the same way. I mean, and this is one of the problems we're having in this data debate always. Why are we always justifying ourselves to the senior management? Or what you guys do? And why are you spending all this money on? Why can't I see the results? And that's the bit of a problem, right? We sometimes, as the industry, also struggle to put the actual physical number to what we do. You've done this type of, I don't know, app, or you've created this platform, and that led to X number of, hours of savings in your labor, or you've done 10% up onto your revenue. We kind of struggle, you do the project sign off, you build an ROI around it, right? But we never measure it afterwards. Yep. Like, okay, so have we achieved that? So the CFO obviously gets annoyed. I mean, I've been through a lot of these kind of cases where I had to justify why we do certain things, why our clients have to do certain things a certain way. And it's generating, everybody understands it's generating value, but they can't put a number on it.
Yeah. So. Which is quite ironic, seeing that we are the numbers guys, or not the numbers people, and that's meant to be our speciality. But I don't think it's. I think we could dumb it back up a little bit. It's not just the data world, because it's it's basically the IT spend as well that I think is a it should be included in this. So if anyone's coming in looking at cost, but you up until now, I think it may be historical failures that we've had. So because these projects have been quite high profile, they've had to go and secure quite a large amount of money at the same time, and a lot of focus on them, and yeah, not all of them have been a success or have gone to plan. But I think maybe because the operational world, it's very rare you have these very large transformations that you go and change everything. If you do, it's because a company's separating or maybe a merging of multiple companies. So they haven't had to justify their spend. I also think another fact is the whole OpEx piece of like your cloud spend is, we spend this on operational systems last year, it's going to be the same again this year. So it's a big cost, but it's already a precedent's already been set of what it costs, and I think it's clear understood that it runs your business. But so the data world's going that direction, but I don't think it's as well understood.
But then is it the right way of doing it? Like, I always struggled a little bit with the budgeting process of it all, right? I mean, like you said, say we spent 5 million last year on IT, right? And then the budget is, we're roughly there, right? So give us another 5 million. But the thing is, could you have spent 4 million on it?
Yep.
Obviously, yeah, easily. Just found efficiencies, right? But there's no incentive. You spend 4 million, next year your budget will be 4 million, not 5, right? So what's the upside for you as a department? There's none. So, but as a business, you kind of lose out because the efficiencies, the improvements to the business are not following through. So then we're kind of starting to get reputation of, these guys are just lazy. They don't do anything, right? They just press buttons there. So, and then again, we have to go back to this justifying existence conversation, right?
And I think that again on that cloud spend as well, that justifying, we need to be able to justify the existence and the cost of every single part of the platform. So it's not just for data world. I think you could be looking at what your Amazon RDS costs or your Dynamics or a lot of these other products, which I think up until now, you haven't had that sort of ops analysis of the financial aspects on that. It's become more relevant, I think, in the data world because of the price per consumption sort of models, which you have some of that, I suppose, but it's normally per seat or per user licenses. Some of those SaaS products on the operational side, and you don't normally split up the cost of your CRM by going, hold on, how many customers does this product use in the organization, or how many, so actually I'm not going to pay for this part because that's that product. You don't get that. It's interesting why that doesn't happen, because I think it's just maybe it's that the CEOs just, if they know, okay, I've got to have this operation, it's an expense I can't go away with.
Some of them are actually looking at what the other guy is spending, because it's like, well, how do I know if my IT spend is the right IT spend? So, I mean, say, it's some kind of retailer, right? And they'll say, well, the guy over there is spending twice as much. Maybe they know something we don't. Maybe they're putting too much, a lot of money into the cloud and now AI, and we're behind it. Oh my God, we got to do something about it. Without really understanding how they need to do that in their own setting, whether they even need to.
That's a really good point, actually. It's like peer analysis of like comparable companies, what their spend is to their customers, to their data volumes. Maybe that'd be Gartner, if you're listening. Here you go. Here's a useful survey for you for once. Go and get his average spend of operational and data products for each market in vertical. Now that would be very, and size as well. That'd be very interesting. There you go. We've defined an open source data set that'd be useful now.
This is interesting stuff. It's My background, I come from, business strategy, efficiencies, low cost airlines. So like we did a lot of stuff on a shoestring, right? Some amazing stuff we've done on a shoestring back in like 15 years ago.
Yep.
And that was kind of like, well, we can do it. Obviously, it wasn't, efficient, maybe, but it was, it got us there. And everybody was engaged, so we knew what we're doing, but a lot of companies, they just throw money at it. They don't get involved, or they completely outsource their function and say, "Look, we don't even want to know. You make it happen." Like, I find a bit of an issue with that, to be honest.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I know we've chatted about your airline, working in that, and obviously knowing that industry getting disrupted at that time. I mean, it's a great comparison there. What was a low cost airline spending on their IT and data infrastructure compared to someone like maybe BA?
Oh, peanuts.
Peanuts. Yeah, and I suppose then it comes in. You probably the larger people, they should have efficiencies of scale, and I don't think that is always the case. You've got that efficiency. You have all that buying power. You have the fact that you can consolidate all this stuff. You can, you've got a larger budget to do this, but those industries have become too complex that no one ever changes anything.
Yeah.
So it becomes very, very hard to disrupt. But did you do any comparison then about maybe Stelios?
Yeah, exactly.
Did he do any comparisons of what he should be able to spend on these things, or was there much more focus on getting the results from it?
We drove our own thing. I mean, aside from the main systems, safety systems around maintenance, something that is has industry standards around it. Those were off the shelf, more or less. I mean, we've always customized stuff. But everything else, including our own revenue management system, booking engine, that was all proprietary, right? So and it was created with no references at the time.
Yeah,
we just we got on with it. It was that's what was working for our business. We were questioned a lot, as guys who did all of this kind of thing, right? Why are you guys doing it? The big airlines do this, and we say, well, yeah, but we make money. Yeah. You see what I mean? So it's like, this works for us. It was unique to us. And that was the formula. Some that works for Ryanair is different that works for, Jet2 or EasyJet. So it's a completely different game, even though we were all airlines, all low cost. So.
Yeah, and I suppose that's another thing that I had Steve McLeod, I think, was on a little while ago. He was talking about, a data model focused one, but I mean, one of the things that it mentioned is you'll probably have 4 or 5 rocks in a company, which are your standard systems, and you've got all your apps at the gap fillers that make it that you're differentiators, basically. What's going to make you unique and give you competitive advantage, which we think we'll come back to that in a minute, competitive advantage. But and each of these large companies out there, or any large company, any company that wants to set up a new platform, you only need these these standard core systems, your CRM, your ERP, your product management system, maybe. The rest of it, it would be quite customized. But I think that where you have that customization gives you the ability to go and capture the data points that other people wouldn't have got. Otherwise, everyone else has exactly the same. So if you want to be able to do something smarter or disrupt, you need to focus on what's very industry and target, or your target audience specific.
Well, that's the exact thing. But then one thing we never solved was around, okay, well, we do all these things as an airline, as an entity, it makes money. We know that a lot of these things are driven by the insights, the data, the nature of the booking engine and so on. What's the number? You guys do all these things. So if we stop tomorrow, what will break, right? Obviously, we never got to prove that question. But theoretically, right? If suddenly everybody's just stopped, okay, the booking engine stops, the airline dies, right? But everything
Yeah.
else, like analytics, fleet purchasing, forward forecasting around passengers, route planning, that kind of thing, what would happen?
Yeah.
And I guess maybe that's one way of looking at the number. What if you stop it and your impact's going to be 5 million for not doing something? Maybe that's the value of what you're doing. I don't know. I mean, that's
and I suppose something you triggered there was going through it was the closing a loop between operational and data systems, and things like dynamic pricing, depending on how far you go with that dynamic pricing or surge pricing. As soon as you go too far or become too dependent on that being your differentiator, your data platform is now your operational platform. The two are the same now, because you now cannot operate at scale or operate profitable without your data engine, your pricing engine that's data driven and real-time data driven. All right, now the two things are all. In those cases, your data team will never have to talk about the value it provides, because now it's made it into the critical path, because you cannot go without them. So I think that's going to be one of the biggest. That's going to solve this problem about us talking value, because as soon as you're in that operational world, then it's all about efficiencies. Because, okay, can I do this thing that I need to do for my business to run? Can I do it more efficiently? Like investigate how I do it, and that will be offer, or new products. So,
sure.
Yeah. So shout out to there we go. John's just going. All those problems that you used to make our operational systems. Yeah. I think you're 100% right, John. I think the only thing I'd add to that is the time you've got to make that decision. The shorter it is, the more you can actually say this is an operational system. I still think it's still operational, but I think it becomes harder to separate the two things as soon as you get that near real time or real time piece. But I'd agree. I'm going off my little hobby horse for a minute, actually. So I have a post coming up about this in a minute, and next probably later on today maybe. But it was triggered from this whole modern data stack being dead discussion, and what we're going to call it, and this whole view that the operational systems never have to keep reinventing themselves. They're just, you don't have CRM B, C, D now or something like that, or creating new names, or CRM 2 or CRM version 2, or it's just a CRM system. But I think if we start thinking of the data platform, operational platform in conjunction with each other, that whenever you do something, it's the same team. This talk of data engineers, evolving. I think we'll just have engineers, platform engineers, and they should have in your team. You'll have some more data focused ones, more infrastructure focused ones, but you'd have a team that can actually deliver a complete product, the data part of it, as well as the operational, what we call the standard operational systems, in unison with one business driving cog that's driving both of those things. I think I'd love to see the day we actually get to that point. We have to reinvent ourselves, give ourselves new titles then, though. We don't wear data anymore.
Yeah, no, this is a very interesting point. I think I wrote an article about that as well. It was around how do you, essentially it's probably kind of like a data mesh, federated type of architecture we're talking about here, right? How do you bring business and data people together, right? Obviously, as business people, we couldn't build, seamless integration, spin up Snowflake, that kind of thing. We just didn't know, and they don't know these concepts at all. They just want that data in front of them, and they'll do something with it. But then the engineers don't know anything about the domain. All data is the same, essentially to them, right? It's got bugs, it's got quality issues, it's this and this and that, and I have to refresh these tables, and I hate this department because they're annoying, right? It's that kind of relationship, but they always set separately. Like, how would you bring them together? That's the key. You know, you need domain experts somewhere within your tech people to deliver that value. But I don't think the businesses see it that way. It's always, well, this is data department, this is BI department, you know, we've got a CDO with it, right? And that's just an island, another department in other amongst departments. Like, I mean, how do you bridge it? And they can't. That's why a lot of it doesn't work. So
I do, and John's just put something out there, and operational analytical split from organisation is an organisational constraint. Yeah, there's a caveat I might make to that, but yeah, we've created organisation structures that don't reflect how our businesses work nowadays. We've gone and added this, like Conway's law of your systems always reflects your org structure. I think unfortunately they don't move that quick, so your org structure moves quicker than the actual systems that were defined. And I think that's what's happened now is, you know, we've got an org structure that's very much focused on the BAU part of the world, and you know, your DevOps part for your managing your operational system, and the other one's bolted on for someone else, a CDO who's got responsibility of this stuff but doesn't have the budget, and yeah, it's not as well understood by the CEO, so you don't get that continuity of changes happening, that the two are just seamless, and you don't think of it as oh, that's my operational team, that's my analytical team. Hopefully that will change over time. So interesting. Yeah, here you go. So he's going for it today, John. We have to get you back on the show as well, John. Do you see Snowflake's news about the bi-directional updates to Salesforce now?
Yes.
So, I mean, it's an interesting move there, because you know, that's just removed your need for high touch and you need for Fivetran for a large lot of use cases out there. I haven't played around, so no caveat. I can't tell you if it's a battle ready or if you should be starting to do that yet. But you know, I'm sure we'll find out over time. So what's your view on that, Val? Where do you think that's going to be more and more common now?
Well, I mean, it's sort of in their interest, right? Snowflake and their, say, the other counterpart, Databricks, right? I mean, these guys are coming up with new functionality all the time. I mean, they have an ecosystem around it. But do they need that ecosystem? Really? Do you see what I mean? I mean, as a business, for instance, I'd rather deal with one supplier, right? Or as fewer suppliers as I can.
I mean, yeah, I mean, yeah, 100%. And I think of it when we first started working with Snowflake. You know, I thought it was a Snowflake as a middle, and you had the spike. You know, all these satellites of all the different vendors coming off it. And I think what's happening now is, and you know, Databricks very, very similar as well. You got these satellites have just been eaten up. So every other one, and go, yeah, we'll take that one.
Yeah. Turning into this amoeba type of looking thing.
Yeah,
no, I agree. I mean, it's from a say, if I put myself into Snowflake's shoes, yeah, it will make sense.
Yeah,
you know, because you want to become the next, I don't know, Microsoft, Oracle, that kind of thing, right? That's the end game. That's where you become big and you just basically have everything to yourselves. Yeah. Now, that on the other hand, that stifles innovation. Yeah. And so once they become this big and they close themselves up, somebody else will spring up, because it's inevitable. You know, something will say, just to challenge them. And at the moment they have this great balance of having the ecosystem and kind of sort of growing their share. But how far can they push that before it breaks? I don't know. That's what I see.
Yeah, I mean, we have played around. So they've added the new quality frameworks or quality things you can add to.
That's it, yeah.
So we played around with that. It has limitations that means that it will never work on an enterprise account. So it just there's a hard limit on certain things it can do. I won't go into details now, which means that if you're a very large client, the solution is never going to work with you because it doesn't scale to what you need to get to. But on the other hand, you know, we're seeing Matt Turk's recent landscape.
I know. It's insane.
So in the smaller company area, look, some of these things that Snowflake are bringing in will more than satisfy the requirements they've got, maybe for orchestration, maybe for quality, and I think that's where I think there's probably that little bit of balance. Is you can go all in on Snowflake and get everything and have a very simple landscape where you just have the one logo on it, or maybe two. But I think in large organizations, having the innovation part you mentioned, I think it's good for that. But you don't. We're always meant to be having this composite mix and match style architecture, and I think the more you go into something without knowing what bit would be done by some other product, or what, if I'm using the platform, but what parts of the platform are using for which bit? So where's your ingestion happening? Where's your orchestration happening? Because otherwise you'll just start talking their own language, and it's very hard to separate all the activities out later.
That's true. But the other challenge you encounter is a lot of the companies are not even anywhere near it. I mean, we're talking about AS400s in a lot of them, right? I mean, how do you bridge that?
And I suppose I think those companies, there's going to be two routes for them. They're either can't afford they can't afford the ability to innovate anymore, which means that they're going to lose that competitive advantage at some stage and will no longer function, or they'll get gobbled up with someone that have to transform them. So I think there'll be a end of life for companies that don't innovate, which leads quite nicely onto this other one about, I think the second item we had here, which is can data ever be an asset item on the balance sheet? We talk a lot about data as an asset, but it can be measured in dollars.
Oh yeah, that's a can of worms, my friend.
I mean, obviously Doug Laney did his book, Infonomics, how many years ago that was, which I read that, and I think it highlights that it's very hard to do. It quotes lots of great examples of companies that have monetized data, if you want to use that word, but it's not. It's never, you can never seen. And I did some research on this, and there was two reasons I'm happy to be fact checked on this one, but two reasons I'd found that data was no longer seen as an asset. I think 9/11 caused one of them, because a lot of the data centers, the companies had it on there, so it wiped money off. So you said it couldn't be. And I think the other one was, I think it was a European reasoning, was you can't put it on you can't put it on your balance sheet if it's linked to a technology. So if you've written something that is proprietary to a particular, then it's not, because it's linked to that. So I think it was two reasons. But there is something you can do, and that is you can have, we talk about that competitive advantage, or this goodwill. So there's when companies are being valued, there's an item on there being goodwill. So although indirectly you're not putting your data actually on your balance sheet, but from a value, if you can actually say how your data is being used to differentiate you and get you a better market share, better cost saving, or whatever you're using that for, then you can put a good justification to say there's a goodwill value on my company because of what I'm doing, because of my special sauce. So that's the only way I think you can actually get it on there, which leads back down to that first thing that we mentioned, which was tangible.
One number. I mean, it's never going to go away, and the problem is around, because the way I see it, you get like we said, operational data. That's probably easier to measure, right? I mean, one thing, you can stop stuff and then see how high the bill is, but it's the R&D type of things, right? It's what analysts do day to day, right? What scientists do day to day. They're trying to find new ways to improve business, essentially, right? New insights, say, what's the customer behavior, you analyze the hell out of it, right? And then you say, look, we got to do this campaign, it's going to generate, extra $1 million on revenue. But you can't put that $1 million to this initiative. We never do. And that's the annoying bit, because without it, would that have happened? I don't know.
Yeah. And it's that I suppose marketing's had this challenge a while. It's that marketing attribution, attribution models of, where the sale came from. And, you for example, I got someone joining this podcast, they've come along, and then after that, they go and fill in a form on the website. Or someone's had something they've seen, they've come to, and then a salesperson on my team goes and speaks to them and goes and gets the big sale. It could have been what they heard here, but there's no, probably not, but there's no way of easily attributing that sale come from this activity. So it's hard. Yeah, it's a hard thing to do. But I think we've had this. I think there's some things that are easier than others, and I think if we concentrate on those easy ones, that I referred to this in the stuff I'm doing with Matt, is the indisputable evidence. You got to go, look, I've got the logs, I've got the same load that's run the same period of time. We had the same campaign that was done one way before. I did A/B testing on it before we did it, the trial run. Here you go. That proved we did it. Then we did it. If we'd run with product A rather than product B, we'd only got this amount based on the subsetting we did. There's some things that you could be argue, a little bit of a factor of a tolerance factor maybe, but it'll be good enough to go bang, right, give me the budget to go and run my one, because I know that this is set in stone. I know I've given you that. Give me some budget to go and do some other stuff, and some of that stuff I might not easily be able to attribute to it, but if you don't do that R&D work, I probably won't get you the next big win, because you've got to oil the wheels. You've got to have your socks. My team's got to have socks.
I agreed, and that's the thing. But then think of it this way, right? So you've given them the value, and this is the really painful stuff, right? Given them the value, they love your team, right? And then at year end, they just didn't quite make enough money, right? And they say, okay, well, consultants come in, say you got to cut. You got to find 10 million in savings. Guess what? We've got all these data scientists sitting here, costing us an arm and a leg. Let's boot some of them out, right? And you go down with, your usual, training, development people, IT, all of that stuff. So you spend months and years developing the knowledge. All of that effort goes into it, right? Switched off overnight. And then they say, well, we'll just bring 10 more of these people and they can start, delivering the value again next week, right? So that loss is never measured, right? But on the books, it looks good. Hey, we just saved ourselves 10 million, right?
Yes, you're right. And it's this, unfortunately, it's this capitalistic world we live in that everyone wants to get some put their bang for their buck. Yeah, and that's a tough one. I think the way of preventing that, the way that I think we should, as data professionals that are running that, is we should never have that end, because those people are going to go, right, I'm going to make that save, and you go, oh, didn't you look at our forecasting for next year, that what we had planned, that by this quarter we were going to deliver this quarter we're going to deliver that, which is going to get you a new market share of 5%. Oh, how are you going to do that now? And they go, maybe we went to cut somewhere else. So I think it's always never sit back on the good win and go. Always be looking to make sure that there's that next thing. I think, again, as a architect by heart, I always want to build this nice fancy landscape and that's your North Star of what you want to be heading towards. So just always think, okay, well, how can I do that? How can I level up the next that's going to open up other opportunities, and then let me build a technology that achieves that, rather than the other way around. Very, very. So John's very hard to attribute casualties. Yes, it is. Although when I did work on an oil rig, well, not on oil bag, when I worked on oil rig data, one of the metrics was deaths, number of deaths they had. So yeah, they were measuring casualties there, but not in probably the way we'd want. But
no, that's it. But that's the same thing. I mean, in aviation, we use that to manage safety, right? So it was a number of events that could be prevented if X, Y, and Z. So there's a lot of research in it, right? Data itself was valuable, but it was a cost item because you buy it, right? Or you generate it off of the systems. But without it, there's no airline, right? So it wasn't really operational system per se, because the decisions still had to be kind of researched, or we find a pattern, or we see something new. So you have an analytical people looking around at this stuff all the time, and that's the valuable bit. But like I always wanted to put a number on it, because it's just it's kind of looking at this business person and saying, look, there's so much value in data. I fully agree with it. Why can't we put a number on it? I mean, that's the annoying bit. And I agree when you said, look, we can link this, show them for next quarter or for next year, right? And this is the ROI, but we'll never go and measure it, unfortunately. And there's no standardized mechanism to even record this kind of, if we made that easier, suddenly a lot of people would go with it. And maybe that's your business idea, my friend.
And John, thank you for pointing out my poor spelling and reading abilities. Causality, not causality, was it? So there you go. So just in case, it's a clarity. Causality, not casualty. Paul Sargent's got a good comment here as well. And hi, Paul, regular attendee. So good shout out. Putting IP on a balance sheet, but it's the same thing. I like the comment, and usually there to fill a hole. So it's making the company look more better than it is. I think the lawyers normally win out of this when you're trying to define IP. It is hard to find, and I think the more that we can do with evidencing these things, and we capturing them. When you spin up a project code or something, if you're able to get the report, the log, past that activity that's been performed, which provides that evidence, I think there's maybe a case for it. I suppose the other one is that when companies are all making money and making great margin, they don't care. They don't care, because there's no point looking into this stuff, because you're making all the. You're doing well. It normally gets into the case where things aren't as good. There's economic down. But I don't think just because we should have this way of working, whatever. We shouldn't just plan for the bad times. We should have this, constant optimization of how we're working. So then maybe it would be easier to start getting some accreditation for this, or getting the recognition for the work we're doing.
No, that's fascinating. This is why I'm really looking forward to you and Matt's book, because you guys get to cover it all. So make sure.
Well, we hope so. Yeah, so it's still work in progress. I think I'm catching up with Matt on Wednesday at Data Council, the Data Universe. So it's some of the things we're trying to address. And I don't think we'll solve it all, but we'll hope steer things in the right direction, or take people to the next level of thinking. I think there's we can cover the last point that we had on here anyway, but was time is money, and is there a value in automated data decisioning, or having analysts and domain experts derive value from what they do? So I think time is money, and I think the other thing is, there's an infinite amount of time. There's a limited amount of time, but money's cheap. You can just keep printing it, but you can never get back time unless we get a time machine. Which,
see, that's the thing. Logically, you're absolutely right. Bang on, right? I'm with you. This is exactly how everyone should be thinking, I think. But the issue is, I don't think companies value, say, BI guys or engineer guys' time. They just think that time, well, we've bought it, right? It's our time. We're going to use it however we want. And then they completely go and waste their time on some stupid stuff, right? Something that could be automated and done behind the scenes.
Very good point. I was just thinking, imagine hiring an accountant and then telling him how to do profit and loss account.
Exactly.
You hire that person because they're a specialist and that's their speciality. But I suppose you are giving that. You need to make sure that you do your end of accounts or end of month accounts. They got things they have to deliver, and that's probably why they never question, because they're regularly delivering things. So in that same way, if you gave your data department that freedom to some degree, okay, right, every quarter I want you to do something that I can go and prove that you've increased sales or you increased something like that. I don't care what technology you use. I don't want to see a roadmap. All I want to do is every quarter I want you to come back with a report, just tell me the achievements that are agreed by the other people involved. So not just you say you can't mark your own homework. I think you get a different way of thinking from your departments, and probably a bit more. They'd feel respected more. Yeah.
No, absolutely, and they'll be thinking more like the business does. I mean, aside from technology companies, right? Most businesses are not technology companies, right? They either ship something, they manufacture stuff, provide services of some sort, whatever. Technology is an enabler. It's a support system in the grand scheme of things, right? So, like any input into a business, it needs to be efficient. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, your margins go down, and you go out of business if your revenues don't cover your expenses, right?
Yeah.
So that needs to be as slick as possible, right?
Yeah.
And obviously, we automate cars nowadays. We don't even want the driver to drive the cars. I mean, that's how far we've gotten, right? But we don't want to automate anything in our industry, right? Excel, it's my favorite tool, by the way, still. But it's insane, right? I mean, some of the jobs I've seen, they'll hire people with credentials of a PhD.
Yeah.
And then the guy will end up, or the girl will end up doing an Excel sheet. Right? So it's like, okay, do you want to to make the best out of this person?
Yeah.
Their skills, experience, or you just want them to manage this stupid spreadsheet that's been around for 25 years? And the answer is they want them to manage the spreadsheet for the last 25 years, because they're afraid to change it. They don't understand, and they don't want to hear it. So
I think another thing that I blame a lot, I moan a lot, but this is one, business processes. So I think the other thing that is lacking in a lot of places is no one actually understands what the business process, or have it mapped, have the business processes mapped, having the activities mapped on those ones, the journey, onboarding journey, sales journey, billing journey. We don't have these anymore. So, and I think the more now that part of that journey, you'll look at it, there's data needed on part of that journey. And I think as soon as when that's clearly understood in an organization, okay, look, this is how we onboard, this is the data I need, this is the timeliness of the data I need to make that decision. I could make a better decision if this data was more timely. It becomes an easy landscape to go, okay, right, this is where we need to spend our effort. This is where there can be some savings on times. Time is money, but then also some savings on cost. Because not only are we saving the time it takes to do that, we're saving the associated cost, the compute, and the people power that are performing that. And not only that, I can now get my thing to market quicker, so now I'm beating my competitors. So I've got a competitive advantage. The world would be a much simpler place, I think, if we have business processes mapped.
You're absolutely right. I mean, I built a company around that same notion, right?
Yeah.
So to save people time and money. But the thing is around, I think it still comes back to that budget thing, right?
Yeah.
What's the incentive to save money, right? Okay, as an entrepreneur, top of the pile, CEO, potentially CFO, they'd be interested. But you're not, because they'll just cut your budget. So you know what I mean?
It's a really good point, and I think it's that reporting line piece of, like, if you're right, the CFO, they'd be really up for it, but do they have the decision? And then the CDO, he'd be really up for it, but he doesn't have the decision either. You've got to report to the CIO. He's going, I want to upgrade my SAP projects this year, so that's going to take all the budget. You haven't got any left.
That's it.
Your hands, your hand tied. So you touched on, obviously, well, I know about what you do at IOblend. Do you want to talk a little bit more about what problem you were solving and why you took the mission on to build your platform?
So I mean, that kind of goes back years, right? So again, most of the problems we were solving is we wanted data, we couldn't get it, right? We couldn't get it on time, we couldn't get it with proper quality. It's always been like, oh, we need to start a project, here's your PM, we need to send a BA, spend 3 weeks collecting your requirements, then we'll go away and build some for you, right? I mean, that just the cost of it, one thing.
Yeah.
Plus we couldn't do anything until for a while we were sitting waiting for the data. So that was, and that happened across many industries, right, where we encountered this stuff. So we said, okay, well, got to be an easier way of doing it, right? So how can we get the data to the user much more efficiently and automatically? So bringing back us to that automation question, right? So that was the kind of the origin of this whole endeavor. And now we've done it, so it works. We've done factory automation. So mainly, funny enough, it's less around analytics, but more operational analytics, right? So all, like you're saying, operational systems, right? That's where as little human interaction is there is possible. That's everything's happening automatically, and that's where the value is. I mean, we process real-time data, like a few of our friends of ours do these type of procedures as well. But it's around. Look, it used to take them 3 months to do this, right? It's constant loop. It costs a lot of money. We take that whole chain out, right? Obviously, I mean, it can be painful for people because suddenly you got to do something else because this is what all you were doing is say data quality day in, day out. Now it's all automated. Now the system works efficiently. Like you said, it saves on compute. It data is real time, whatever. But it's then, okay, so we've saved this company X number of thousands or whatever. And what do they do with that? Because this is what they were doing before. That was the whole, department. That's what it existed for. Now you got to come up with something new to do. And you're absolutely right. If there was entrepreneurial thinking around that, well, I can do this, I can deliver that, we can move the business forward. But it's not always there. That's the unfortunate thing. And I think it's a culture thing. Yeah. And like you said, look, it's going to take time for people to shift into that mode of thinking. As more tools, more automation comes to life, it becomes simpler to access all of this clever technology behind the scenes. What would people do with their time, right? More value add rather than menial tasks. And that's kind of, that's the whole vision to go forward. And I'm glad to see that this is kind of where we're going. And AI obviously is pushing us into that direction as well. I mean, I'm not sure I agree with people that AI will replace a lot of jobs. I think it'll make a lot of people more, I don't want to say productive, but more creative in what they can do. And actually it's going to be more exciting going forward.
I agree. I think there's definitely more fish. There's not enough hours a day for me nowadays. So if anything can actually optimize some ways that we work to allow us to focus on higher ticket items. When punch cards got replaced and there was a compiler there. Don't worry, all those programmers still got other jobs. And I think they were just able to more useful use their time. I think we should embrace it and then look to see how we can.
But what's your take on the current state of the AI? What do you think?
So I think we're just coming down that hype cycle. I mean, the post. I think Joe did a post that Amazon just revealed that they're pulling out of their walkout stores because they established that actually the walkout stores was actually 1,000 people in India that were manning the screens and actually verifying what people actually had taken. So I think what people thought it could do and put it up there to what reality is. If Amazon are going, well, actually, look, it's going to be cheaper for us. Obviously there isn't the value, and they probably learned something from it, and they'll probably put that on their books somewhere as some IP probably of the learnings made from it. But I think we're in that bit of a. I mean, ChatGPT's been out now 14 months now, is it?
Something like that, yeah.
14, so it was November the year before last, wasn't it? So everyone else is got their own version of it as well. I like it. I find it useful in well, definitely doing my spell checking and stuff like that. It saves me going paying for family. But yeah, I think it does provide additional value. So I'm going to go back to the comment earlier about Snowflake opening up its bidirectional feed from Salesforce, and also looking at where them and others. I mean, I do focus on Snowflake, but there's others doing similar things. But I'll keep with Snowflake because I understand it more as an ecosystem example. And the comment John made earlier about it's not technology that's stopping us; it's more organisation. I think that's nearly. I think there's one thing in the technology that I think is going to simplify, bringing the operational data world together. So imagine this scenario now where you've got Snowflake, you're using Salesforce, you've got to build some of your own, those apps I said that you don't go get the non-COTS one. You've put them in containerized things within Snowflake as well. Now you've just got 4 COTS products. Your Snowflake with some containers in it, which has got something in it, which has got some of your apps in there that are native apps that you've got all the data from that as well. You're now using that HTAP hybrid transaction analytical processing. What they call it, Unistore tables as well. So we've got the right size sort of sizing of blocks and primary keys allowed and for stuff like that. So now when you go and do a change, you're going to go speak to your, I'm going to call them just ops. They're not DevOps or data, they're just ops. It's a very simple landscape. They've got some bi-directional, big COTS products that are talking to Snowflake. You've got to put your other bits in there. You've got a single deployment and testing solution. Your multi-cloud, multi-region. There you go. Job's done. Simple team now. Your Snowflake consumption bills may be a little bit high, but your staffing levels will be quite down. But so I think, I think that's the missing technology piece is I think nailing that HTAP concept. So I think once you've got hybrid transactional analytical platforms as the norm, and whichever ones they are out there, and they can all co-host all the other applications in the same place, I think that's the next leveling up of the IT and data world is going to have.
Yeah, and I mean it's definitely heading for a consolidation of technologies in one way or the other. The only problem with that is, again, it's like we're going back 30, 40 years, right? We had Microsoft and Oracle, right? And then so I mean, it's good to have everything in one house. But then, unpicking that house is when you need to, becomes difficult.
We all reinvent the wheels, don't we? And
yes.
it'll just be the same thing all over again. Whereas we'll just go back. I mean, I'll share my screen to show. I don't know. I'm going live here. I'm sharing my screen. Hopefully, it comes in more on it. Let's have a look. Let's present. Here we go. Share my screen. Screen. Let's have a look. Which one? Window. Is it the one? There we go. There we go. Yeah. So obviously Matt Turk's Mad Landscape came out.
Oh right. Yes. I mean, I'm still kind of annoyed that we're not on it, but you'll be able to see us and on that.
Oh, you will. Well, they'd have to look quite hard to go and find you, but I was I scanned our one out there.
Oh, right. You have to zoom in.
Well, I think as I said here is that when I first started, it would be just say IBM Cognos, SAP Business Objects, Oracle Siebel, and
there we go. Yeah, exactly.
And we've gone. I think he's stuck in 12 years, and the number of logos has just increased. So I don't know. Here you go. So that's how busy it's got now. So It's
But look how many are in the AI space now. I mean, it's pretty much half of it now.
yes, yeah. True. So yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what consolidation does happen in there.
That's right.
Over the coming years. Yeah. So I suppose when's your next travel? Are you coming across to New York again soon?
Yeah, I'm thinking. Yeah, plans are a bit. So we're doing AWS Summit end of April. I think there is a DTX in Manchester in end of May, but Big Data Land obviously we're doing because that's our kind of main
Home turf.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's who's anyone is there, so that's the best one to be. But yeah, I need to get over to across the pond again.
All right. Well, yeah, so I'm at the Java Center next week for Data Universe. So anyone in New York, hook me up. I'll be about a bit. Ethan's meetup, I think, is on the 10th.
All right.
And in the week after, I think we've got the London meetup in our normal place at the Q Bar. So anyone around on the 18th of April. I'm sure you'll be there. This one, Val, you never miss them. So
absolutely no. The reason I don't miss them is because these are very good, very high quality.
Oh, you're too kind.
And I'm not saying it because it's you, Chris. You know, I'm not telling you anything. But no, generally, because you get to meet very interesting people, and you, without any kind of sales pitches or anything, you generally talk about what's going on in the data world, trends, share experiences, learn stuff like how to do things. Have they encountered these kind of issues? It's brilliant, and you get free pizza. Sorry, Chris.
Yeah, you do. And you're not just there for the free pizza, I know, but and so I think John, I'm just closing on that last one. John, another decoms is like data and service mesh. I like the term service mesh. I think that came up there the other day as I was talking to someone. So we're gonna have to reinvent a new name now, but that incorporates both the data world and the service world. But then after that, we know more data conferences. They'll be gone. It'll just be the big ones. So we'll lose.
Is Snowflake and Databricks now on the same day or something?
No, they're both in
the same place, but different dates, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I think you just stay on longer. I think so. I should be. I will be at the summit this year as well. So I'll be there. Whatever that is.
San Francisco this time.
Yeah, so I'll be there for San Francisco for that. A bit of data. So I'll see you, Dan Tooney. Great. Thanks for tuning in, Dan. So he'll be there. So I'll see him next week. All right. Well, we're pretty much on time, Val. So if anyone wants to catch up with you, or just find out more about what you do, or anything like that, how they reach out to, how they can get in touch.
So LinkedIn is my kind of best place to hang out. Obviously, DM me or connect. I'm always, happy to get in touch with anyone. Otherwise, well, I mean, I come to Chris's meets. So if you want to meet in person for a drink, always there. Just tag me. Yeah,
brilliant, Val. Well, anyway, it's a pleasure talking, and as always, a great data debate. This time it was live.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Chris.
All right, brilliant. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and I'll catch up soon, Val. I'll end the stream.
Cheers. Bye.